This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast.
With Tony Brueski.
Every day, the Alec Murdaugh case just gets a little bit darker, trickier, creepier. I think creepier is the main word I'm looking for, because it's like, how? Even if you're not the murderer, how are you doing these things? We are talking today with one of my regular guests, Arie Shamuilian. We're going to be talking about the latest developments in the Alec Murdaugh case from the perspective of a defense attorney, which Arie is one. Arie, since we last talked, lots of information has continued to come out in this case. What's some of the things that have been standing out to you?
You know, in this Murdaugh trial, there's definitely been a lot of twists and turns. The defense has introduced some key evidence as far as Mr. Murdaugh's possible assisted suicide. Now that's opened a whole door for the prosecution to bring in their own witnesses. And we've really seen something interesting come out, which is the interview video with Murdaugh and his attorney even going down with him to the station. Mm-hmm. That has really stood out to me in this case, that a lawyer has allowed his client to go down to the police department, meet with detectives, and essentially get cross-examined by the police.
How does that stand out to you? What does that mean to you?
So part of being a good defense attorney, you need to lock down your client and you control the story. Mm-hmm. By them going down and meeting with the detectives, they have forfeited their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. He voluntarily went down there with his client, the attorney did.
Yep.
And they provided a statement to the authorities. And look what happened when they went there. The authorities were able to listen to Murdaugh's story, and all of a sudden, well, Mr. Murdaugh, we understand your side. What about this Snapchat video? Mm-hmm. Boom. All of a sudden, you see the attitude change. You see Murdaugh start asking questions back. Prior to this video, he was being super responsive. All of a sudden, he's starting to shut down and get very defensive towards the officers. Mm-hmm. And a jury necessarily doesn't like that, right?
Sure.
Bad body posture, not being responsive towards the officers' questions are going to plant some seeds in the jury's mind, like, hey, you know, you're a cooperative and now you're not. Maybe we caught you with your tail between your legs and you did do this.
Are they just going to argue, though, that he was, you know, it's a very stressful time. You caught him off guard because it's something he didn't even know about. And if you didn't know about something and you're being accused, wouldn't you get quiet too? Wouldn't you kind of be, when you're being put into a defensive stance?
I agree. You know, it's a double-edged sword here. The defense is going to argue, hey, we came down here voluntarily. We cooperated with your investigation. What reasonable person that just committed a killing would come down here to talk to you guys? But on the other hand, sure, right? Anytime anyone meets with police, they get nervous. But his response in particular wasn't one of cooperation. He got very defensive, and, you know, a gut reaction of a jury is very important. And I think their gut reaction when they saw that video is going to be one of someone who's trying to hide something rather than being caught off guard.
Well, there certainly has been a lot of Alec Murdaugh hiding things. Now, we still don't know if he's hiding murder, but he seemed to be hiding everything else in his life and being caught at it, the financial crimes, all the way to the fake suicide attempt, which now has been introduced into evidence into this courtroom as well. Again, it's not saying he's the murderer, but it doesn't play well for the jury that this guy seems to be a compulsive liar.
I agree. The state has presented a lot of evidence here, and there's a lot of different motives, a lot of different stories that have been presented. Essentially, they've planted a lot of seeds here in the jury's mind. They better be certain that the jury's not going to get confused during their closing arguments. Mm-hmm. There's just so many twists and turns. It's very easy for a juror to become confused and say, hey, I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to back out of this. I don't think he did it. There's too much going on here. Mm-hmm. And that is totally possible here.
All it takes is one juror, and that's the thing. And this is taking place in what has been known as Murdaugh country. And I guess one could read into that what they will. In some cases, in smaller communities, that either means you have people who are fans of these people, or in some areas, it's like those damn Murdaughs, or those damn insert the very rich family name here, and people like to tear them down. How do you think that's going to play out in the end with the fact that it's taking place in their own territory?
Definitely dangerous. You definitely could deal with jurors who have some type of influence by the Murdaughs or have some type of relationship. They were so well known within this community. But, your prior statement where one juror could hold out is absolutely true. There's called juror nullification, where if a juror has whatever reason they want not to find someone guilty, just one of them, there's going to be a hung jury, and the state can retry the case at that point. In order to have a guilty conviction against someone, all 12 jurors must unanimously agree they find him guilty. And if one holds out, done deal.
Is it, if it is a hung jury, is that guaranteeing a new trial, or can the state dismiss the charges?
They could do either, depending on what the ultimate outcome is. Let's say there's 11 not guilty and one guilty. At that point, the not guilties are so overwhelming, the state could potentially decide not to file this case. More than likely, what usually happens in these hung jury cases is the state will give some type of sweetheart offer to the defense, so they accept it. Maybe involuntary manslaughter or heat of passion, something with very low custody exposure.
In that sort of case, let's go down the road that he gets something like that, or it's found innocent. He has these other massive crimes that he still has to be tried for. Wouldn't that end up putting him behind bars regardless, considering some of the admissions that have already been made?
Potentially, but at this junction, he's facing life at this point, right? There's the killing of 2 people that he's being alleged to have commit. This is his number one priority. And I think as soon as he gets over this hurdle, there's definitely other state bar issues that he's facing, different other lawsuits, but those should be able to get addressed. But this is the number one concern. If he doesn't have his freedom, he's never going to be able to address those other issues.
Is he, regardless of what the outcome here, guilty or not guilty, is there going to be financial crime trials going on after this?
I think so. I think he was definitely being investigated prior to these murders, and I assume the state's going to want to proceed on those, right? Those potentially could be much easier to prove than this murder, which seems to rest a lot on circumstantial evidence.
Sure. What do you make of the claim that was made by the defense? $50,000 a week on drugs for one person. We're talking opiates and barbiturates.
Yeah.
That seems a little steep, even if you're really doing a lot.
I agree with you there, but the defense is doing a very good job of giving possible motive to someone else wanting to commit these murders. They're saying that this could potentially be retaliation. He was so involved by spending $50,000 a week that someone else would want to step in and kill his family members if there was some type of revenge out there that they needed to get against him. And that opens up a lot of doors. That's what the defense is doing. They want to create some type of doubt that there could be someone other than him that did this.
Well, they almost had it this week when the judge said that we're not going to introduce any more about cousin Eddie into the trial. But then suddenly, guess what? Cousin Eddie's going to be in here because you guys opened the door to his existence. They almost had the jury thinking maybe there was somebody else that was going after Alec Murdaugh in that fake suicide attempt. Again, not playing very well for Alec, but if we were to go back, do you think that was his motive to begin with the fake suicide attempt, to make it look as if there's a hit out on his entire family, and that's why he put that thing into play?
Nothing about the assisted suicide makes sense to me, right? Nope. If you wanted your family to get money and you did this in order for them to get money, then that shows you loved your family, right? Why would you, after that, in a suicide attempt that was not successful, now go kill your family that you love so much that you're trying to get money for them. It really doesn't make sense to me of why he tried to do that. And who knows, maybe after he was going to get killed there, that his family was going to get killed next. We don't know.
Well, he did it after the fact. The fake suicide, the fake murder attempt was after they were dead. So to me, that plays into this because in his mind, I'm thinking he's still thinking he's going to somehow get away with this, get off, and garner more sympathy. If, oh my gosh, look at the twist in this story. Yes, there's these financial crimes. Yes, his family is dead. Yes, he's already been the subject of Dateline specials. Oh my gosh, now someone's trying to kill him. Maybe it's the same person who killed his family. I think that was the angle in the attempt there. And
once again, look how it backfired.
Everything he touches backfires.
Exactly.
It's amazing to me. And one question I have about this, and I don't know that you would have the answer to it by any means, but he was airlifted. He was airlifted from that fake suicide attempt or fake murder attempt, whatever it was, to the hospital. Why? He was grazed by a bullet. Wouldn't a paramedic or somebody that shows up there with the flight for life or whatever it is look at this and go, you don't need to be airlifted?
Sounds like some special type of treatment, right?
Yeah.
They probably knew who he was, and they want to make sure he gets the best ultimate treatment, and that's what they did. They airlifted him rather than what they would do to probably me, which is take me in an ambulance, right?
Well, I would think, is it special treatment, or is it something where Alec even said, I'll pay for this, airlift me, make it more dramatic? Was that, I'm curious, at the behest of Alec saying airlift me, or was that at the judgment of the company that runs the helicopters?
I don't have that answer, but I wouldn't put past anything Mr. Murdaugh at this point as far as what type of influence he has and what he wanted the story or the motive or, theme to be. Maybe he wanted to make it seem much more urgent where he wanted to get airlifted. At this point, I don't know.
Sure. He's supposed to be going on the stand in his own defense. Is this kind of a last-ditch effort at this point? It's usually not a good idea to put the defendant on the stand. What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a bold move by the defense to want to put him on the stand. He's going to open himself to cross-examination.
Mm-hmm. Whose decision do you think it is to put him on the stand? Do you think it's his defense attorneys, or is it more so the ego of Alec Murdaugh still saying, I'm going on the stand?
Yeah. There's a saying out there, a lawyer who has himself as an attorney has a fool as a client. And even at this point where he's facing 2 murder convictions, he is still trying to control the bus here. And it's a problem. He needs to step back, listen to his attorney's advice, and let them guide him. It seems like he still has a lot of influence over his attorneys, right? Ultimately, the decision whether or not for him to take the stand rests with him. In this scenario, I would advise against it. There's so many inconsistencies that he's going to be exposed to. The jury's not going to believe him.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Brueski.
Be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts so you don't miss any of our discussions on the cases that we're following for you right here. And if you want a commercial-free experience, it's available to you through Apple Podcasts right now. You can even try it for 3 days free. Then you get access to this podcast, all of the cases we're following for you with the Hidden Killers and True Crime Today. It's all there for you to binge away on. We do greatly appreciate that. Until next time, I'm Tony Brueski. Thank you for listening.